This presentation is a discussion of IMAP, which stands for Internet Message Access Protocol, and DNS, which stands for Domain Name Servers. This presentation is made by Christopher Hill for ISA 4220 Server System Security. On this slide, I'll be discussing IMAP. Technology takes people in another communication environment where information shared, accessed, developed using many types of resources, and that is making the information to be available anytime and anywhere. Through emails, information is shared all around the world. For it to happen, we need a protocol that can make information available in different devices. IMAP is a protocol that allows emails to get stored on the email server and then open using several devices. Yeah. IMAP stands for Internet Message Access Protocol. So it's just a standard protocol for accessing your email from your local server. So the latest version of IMAP is version 4. So IMAP is a protocol where your email is received and then is held for you by your internet server. You can view the heading and the sender of the letter, and then you can decide whether to download it or not. With IMAP, you can manipulate multiple folders or mailbox on the server. You can also delete or search certain parts of a mail. So basically, IMAP required continual access to the server during the time you're using it, which is completely different from POP3. So with POP3, your email is saved in a single mailbox on that server, on the server. So when you read the email, it immediately download it into your device, whether you're using a mobile phone or you're using a computer. So it immediately downloads the whole emails, which is completely different from IMAP, because IMAP lets you download it, it lets you initiate the download. So it's up to the user to download the entire email or just not download it, which is completely different from POP3. POP3 downloads it automatically. So that's the main difference between POP3 and IMAP. So basically IMAP is just a remote file server. We can look at it that way. IMAP, in resume, IMAP is just a remote file server. And POP3, you can see it as a store and forward service. So these are the main differences between IMAP and POP3. IMAP and POP3, I use for receiving emails, and SMTP I use for sending emails. On this slide, I'll be discussing DNS. DNS is short for Domain Name System or Domain Name Service or Domain Name Server. So basically, DNS is one of the most important service in IT. It allows humans and computer to interact easily and efficiently. Humans have always developed a name learning skill during their lifetime. So that's why it's really difficult for human to memorize IP addresses. Imagine you have to memorize, for every domain name, tapping on your browser, you have to remember the IP addresses of that domain. That'll be impossible for you to remember all these digits. So this is why DNS make our world way easier by not, you know, so we don't have to memorize any IP addresses. So DNS, in resume, DNS is it just translate domain name into IP addresses. So you don't have to enter the IP addresses. Let's say if you go to abc.com, you know, all you have to do is just type abc.com instead of typing, you know, 198.1.1.1. So, instead of remembering these digits, the IP addresses of that domain, all you have to enter is just the domain name. So that makes our world way easier. You don't have to remember, the numbers. All you have to do is just remember the domain name, which is really easy since we develop name learning skills during our lifetime. So this is why DNS is really important. It's one of the most important creation, in this life. It's part of it. It's one of the most important. So without DNS, we would have to remember every day, you know, multiple numbers. So DNS basically saves humans, so they don't have to memorize IP addresses. So DNS, is a system that has its own network. So if the DNS doesn't know how to map a domain name, the user will be asked another one until the right IP address is returned. On this slide, I'll be discussing the best practices for IMAP protocol. So basically, IMAP is a client and server protocol. It allows a client to access email stored on the mail server by using mail clients through different devices. So emails are used to send and receive information with different confidentiality level. So this is why it's really important to configure your email server, especially your IMAP server, because through emails we send really important information. So sometimes through your email you receive really confidential information, from your banks, for work. So this is why configuring your email server is really key, especially for businesses. Especially for businesses. So to mitigate the risk to the mail server, mail clients must be well configured since they directly interact with the mail server. So nowadays we use different mail clients. We use webmails, applications. Well, I mean mobile applications, and Outlook. So we have different type of mail clients. So that's why you have to always make sure when you're using a mail client, because the mail client connects directly to the server. So that's why the mail client has to be really secure. Because if the mail client isn't secure, people can go, use your mail, uh, 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 log into the to your to get access to your mail client and have access to your emails. So that's why it's really important to configure your mail client and then make sure your mail clients is the connection between your mail clients and the server is 100% secure. So the mail server receives emails via IMAP protocols. So all incoming IP addresses using IMAP must be checked against blacklist IP addresses. Awareness training must be conducted to employees regarding emails vulnerability. So this is why you always receive emails asking you not to open email, asking you to always not open emails from unknown users or attach files from unknown users. So this is why it's really important because you know if someone can hack your computer or send you an email with viruses, and using that viruses can go through your system, your computer system, and have access to your IMAP server. So this is why it's really important to be aware of the risk of opening uh, emails from unknown senders. On this slide, I'll be discussing best practices for DNS. So the DNS server is a central point for clients and servers interaction in the network. So the installation and configuration must work. So we need, so we have four best practices for DNS server systems. You need to make sure your client side is well configured, your DNS service installation is well installed, and you need to make sure DNS server installation and configuration are correct. And lastly, you need to monitor your DNS server at all time to make sure everything is working, and verify your system is on point. On this slide, I'll be discussing server hardening for IMAP. So like POP3, Internet Message Access Protocol, short for IMAP, is a receiving protocol for the mail server that makes the server to be exposed to several threats from different networks. So you need to always make sure internally the server must be protected with an antivirus and a host intrusion detection system. So anytime, so the server can be accessed easily. Viruses won't be able to get into the server, and with the intrusion detection system, whenever someone get into the server, you get notified. Also, on the network, the line of defense must be composed with a blacklist IP filtering firewall and a network intrusion detection system. So that way, on the network, your network is monitored because sometimes email clients, use the network to show the emails, to display the emails, so to communicate with the server. So on the network, if you have a well defend defense network, you protect it against attacks because before a person get into the server, they have to go through the network first. So if the network is protected, it's really hard to get into the server. And lastly, user must be trained not to open or download files from unknown senders. On this slide, I'll be discussing server hardening for DNS. So the DNS service allows different type of operating system to interact. So through the forward lookup zone and reverse lookup zone, any system can be founded by its name or by its IP addresses. DNS servers interact among them with zones information transfer, and these transfers are done using TCP and UDP protocols. On Windows servers, DNS information can be integrated in Active Directory so that the transfer is done via Active Directory replication. So that way the data is secured.